I am Reverend Amani Malaika, and I want to talk this month, for at least the next few weeks, about money and vocation and being rich and abundant and prosperity and all the words, right? What does that look like? How do we get in right vocation? Whether we're working for pay or we are staying at home and taking care of a family or we are retired, vocation is still very real for us. And what does any of this have to do with spiritual living?
How good it is to be a blessing, right? And to recognize, if you feel so comfortable, to look around the room that you are surrounded by blessings right now. Blessings everywhere. If you were with us last week, or if you've watched the sermon so far this month on YouTube, you know that I've been working with this definition of what it means to be rich from Jen Sincero, which is just really basically that you get to have all the money and resources you need to live and fully experience your authentic life. And that requires you knowing your authentic nature, right? You can't live an authentic life if you are not an authentic self, an authentic expression of yourself, right? Are we in agreement? Yeah. Okay. So what that means maybe is there are pieces of ourself we have to call home. That's part of this work of abundant living, of knowing ourselves as abundant blessings, knowing how to receive the abundant blessings. Because what I know for sure is if I am not in my authentic nature, if I am not being my whole, holy, amazing self, I can't be a blessing to you. You know, I might be fun. I might be a lot of things, but a blessing is probably not it. And then the other part of that is when I am not in my wholeness, when I am not being all of who I can be and bringing my whole self to life, I can't see the blessing right in front of me. It's literally like acting like it's in a whole different parallel universe, right? I can't actually even see what all the blessings might be if I'm not wholly present. I might not recognize something or someone as a blessing when I'm not in my wholeness. Yeah? So I was reading a little bit earlier today. My favorite astrologer is Chani Nicholas, so if you know, you know. She's amazing. But she released this new thing, and that she wrote an article about the Black Lilith moon, which is a point in the sky. It's actually not a thing. Like, it doesn't have a tangible material. Like, it's not a planet, it's not a star. It's a point in the sky of when the moon is farthest from the earth, right? So it's when the moon is at its darkest. And there's so many archetypic stories and fables and tales and characters related to this idea of Lilith, right? There's goddesses, there's stories of Lilith that predate writing, that go back to Sumeria. They're in a bunch of different cultures, but the gist of Lilith's stories, and there's some really wild stories, so I invite you to go research it if you're into mythology. But the gist is this aspect of self, of humanity that we've shunned, that we've thrown way out on the margin, right? As far as the moon could possibly travel, that's where Lilith is. And so we all have a Lilith in ourselves, that we all have an aspect of self that we keep way under wraps, right? That we have fully cast out. And the reasons why could be many. You could have been queer, raised in the Catholic Church. You could be a dark-skinned person in a city where there aren't many of you. That was me. There's tons of ways you've been cast out in your life, very literally. And then there's all the ways that you've been cast out, or you've cast out or shunned a part of yourself that you just didn't think was really welcome at the table. for some reason. Some pattern in your family, like are loud people allowed? Are emotional people allowed? Are sad people allowed? Right? Some aspect of yourself that you just, not so much. I'm not letting that out in the light of day. Yeah? But here's what I want you to know. It's funny, I said light of day and the lights went up. We did not plan that. Your wholeness needs you to bring that back, needs you to bring her home. Your wholeness has nothing to do with your best self, your ideal version, nothing. We're going to put that down today. We're going to put that idea down today. And we're going to talk about what it means to be holy, to be a blessing, means to be whole, W-H-O-L-E, to be complete. Some of you have probably heard me talk about the Aramaic translation of the word perfect out of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible. The Aramaic translation of perfect that has gotten translated into the English Bible as perfect. It means nothing is missing. Completeness, wholeness. So your perfect imperfection is required to be whole. You with me? You are perfectly imperfect. So the parts of you that have gone out to Shadowlands, have been put away, are required for you to experience your own perfection. And why am I talking about this during the Money and Vocation series? Any guesses? Shout them. Our money is not a reflection of our wholeness. Thank you, Ami. Clarissa shared that our life's work, our vocation is dependent upon our wholeness.
I'd like that to be whole.
Unapologetically whole.
Yeah, unapologetic.
Right? And here, because your abundance, your experience of richness cannot happen if you are walking around feeling and being incomplete. Right? I talked a little bit about this last week, that feeding the hungry ghost, that insatiable hunger that cannot be filled no matter what outside thing you keep trying to fill it with, the right lover, the right amount of money, the right food, the right busyness, the right shows, the right whatever, the right place, the right house, the right car, the right clothes. And you keep hoarding and consuming, and you cannot feel fulfilled. Because the fulfillment is in your wholeness, in your holy nature. And the thing that I'm gonna share a little story with you from myself that is the maybe the least comfortable part of spiritual journeying is discovering more of your true holy nature and discovering what actually lights you up. What actually delights you. And it can be really uncomfortable to discover what that is. And then you have to come out about it, right? Like, come out to yourself, which was me in church. It was a big-ass secret that I was going to church. Nobody in my life knew. I didn't want anybody to know. My coolness was on the line, y'all. I did not want anybody to know, but I was a desperate single mother with not a lot of money, not any real support, and I was crying every Friday night trying to figure out how I was going to get through this parenthood thing. And so finally, I crept into the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, formerly known as the Church of Religious Science. It's creepy as hell, that name. Everybody kept telling me to go there, but anyone who knew me well kept telling me to go because they knew what my beliefs were and how I rolled in a very solo, individualistic spiritual life. And I was like, I am not going to your creepy ass church. I'm not going. But I was desperate. And I discovered, as I allowed my true nature to connect with what was happening at this place, that I was delighted by it. And it took me years to admit that. It was worse than coming out as queer, way worse. I was like, I love all the ladies. But telling y'all I was going to church was like, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. It was a big deal. But it was in alignment with my nature. And I couldn't deny that. It is a massive part of how I was able to walk myself into a more abundant life. Was telling the truth to myself about my nature, and then allowing myself to be an expression of that. A very over-talkative, on every report card, expression of that. Because that was how I was able to stumble my way into my vocation that has me sitting here in front of you now. It was a wildly uncomfortable ride. I was not trying to be a minister. It was not my plan. I was so cool. You should have known me when I was cool. I was cool. I was a hip chick. So this was a big bridge to cross for me. Such a surprise. Such a surprise. But I want you to know that being in an uncomfortable process of truth-telling is a part of the walk of abundance. Because you cannot know how much money you need, what abundance actually looks like for you, what environment you want to live in, what your house might look like, until you know who you are and who wants the house, who needs the bank account. My abundance started to look really different than I ever thought it would when I started telling myself the truth. And I had to call parts of myself home that were really hard for me to welcome. The one who likes to pray. Ooh. The one who likes to read sacred texts. The one who loves to garden and bake pies. Oh my God. I had to call her home so that I could more deeply experience the life that I was designed to live. My birthright. And I could sit here and talk all day about all the oppressive systems out there that were trying to keep me from my birthright. But the greatest barrier to my birthright, my abundance, was my self-concept. Was the black Lilith in me who I would not let come to the table.